In this webinar, we are going to share our experience with you regarding virtual event fundraisers. So you can jumpstart your virtual event, talk to your team, talk through some ideas, and really make this the best yet. This webinar is part of our complete series for the first quarter of 2021, and you're invited to come along with us. This is our second one. We have 5 total, or watch back the missed event from a couple weeks ago. There are lots of lessons learned in the last year, yielding opportunities to be had. Today, we are going to focus on the virtual event in terms of the show and the fundraising. So let's go ahead and get started. Sorry, give me a sec here. In the last quarter of 2020, there were 1,500 auctions and event fundraisers that were conducted using Auctria. And this was for all types of fundraising groups, charities, foundations, and communities. In the last quarter of 2020, we saw fantastic success. And I'm going to ask you to pop this into the bottom right-hand corner. If you came to the webinar last week, you can't answer this question. Sit back and watch. I want to know what you think 1,500 groups running through Auctria brought in cumulatively as a group. And give that to me in terms of a number down in the bottom right-hand corner. I'm curious to see what you thought, and then I'll be happy to share that number with you, because I'm using the term fantastic, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart, because there are so many groups that did so many wonderful things with their events, from Giving Tuesday to virtual events, and so on. So the numbers are coming in, and there is a huge range. Yes, $15 million those groups brought in. So I cheer for every single one of them. And I know that you guys can make this quarter even bigger. Add it all together, and it brings a whole lot of love into the communities. So today, this is what our agenda looks like. We're going to focus on the virtual event only, and we're going to talk about revenue makers, talk about how to get your supporters to show up. They're going to need a good reason to show up. We're going to talk about ticket considerations, and then transition into content, the auction, and texting. And of course, we will open it up to Q&A afterwards. So like I mentioned earlier, this webinar is part of a series, and this slide is a summary of the previous discussion. There were 4 major event fundraising types we talked about in general. They were online auction, a donation-only campaign, a virtual event, and a virtual event with a live auction. You'll choose your ingredients, and then the binder is the mission, kind of like a smoothie here. Think about your mission as the liquid and the flavor that holds it all together, all that yumminess. For the fundraising operations, the key ingredients are listed there. We're going to talk today about the virtual event key ingredients, and those may include an impact video, testimonials, sponsor placement. We'll talk about the full show. We'll talk about raise the paddle, the live auction, as well as the ticket and swag that you might see sold in the past. So I'm going to hang out here on this slide for a couple minutes. Well, not quite, but this is the money slide. And these are the revenue ingredients that pair well with the event fundraiser. And I know probably the next question that's going to pop up is, are we going to have a copy of these slides? Yes, absolutely. I'm going to send that to you so that you can hang out and share this with your team. This is a long list, so you want to pick and choose strategically and think about, what do you think will drive revenue for your supporters, and what is the team capable in terms of skills and time and implementing for those efforts. So your giving campaign and your paddle raise, you can run that through Auctria's text to give or the live auction controller. And then of course, you're very familiar with live auctions and online auctions, but we're going to dive into the virtual live auction here. Groups use an attend to win or games of chance with a wheel spin or a name picker. It's amazing how people will peel off cash to get in on a game like that. We've seen groups do trivia throughout their virtual event. Sprinkle that in for a little variety. And then for sale items, you can set that up as ticket packages, VIP opportunities, pre-party access. And don't forget about the sponsorships. Acknowledging them online and through your live event is another great way to increase revenue. So people need a reason to show up, right? Just like if you were running a party or a gala, why should they show up? Can't they just give you a check and move on? Make it worth their while, and don't keep it a secret. Promote and publicize the events. Do a preview of the show, maybe a little snippet of your rehearsal as a behind the scenes kind of snippet of some sort, a sneak peek of the fun to be had. You want to encourage people to come to your event, because the more people you come, the higher the bids, the higher the donations, and you know how that all spirals. So here's a sampling of event activities that we have observed that have taken place through the virtual events through the end of last year. And all sorts of entertainment we saw. We saw giveaways where you must attend to win. We saw people reveal something. Some did a new logo. Some did a new building that they were promoting. Some were revealing new people in their groups with a board inauguration or volunteer appreciation. Some had keynote speakers, some honored a hero, or had an event honoree itself, awards and recognitions. And like I said, volunteer appreciation always gets people to show up also. So think about including those as part of your virtual event. Now, how are you going to use that time? Plan for a 45-minute maximum for the live portion of the virtual event. I want you to pinky swear with me right now, unless you have something super special to share. For instance, in the summer, we saw a youth symphony performance raising money for the youth symphony, and they did a huge presentation, and it was all sorts of musical interludes and pieces, and it was gorgeous and it was spectacular. It went over 45 minutes. However, people were glued to their screens for that. So I want you to plan out every minute and make every word count. You can do a pre-roll and a countdown, and that doesn't count towards the 45 minutes. There's some free money for you, or free time for you. And in that lobby, you can have music, sponsor recognition. If you logged on to this webinar early, you saw, I think I had a YouTube running that had some event websites. Use that time wisely, because it's there, and you can take advantage of that space. So think about, how are you going to slice and dice those precious 45 minutes? You're going to have introductions and maybe some instructions on how to give. Are you going to have speakers? How many and how long are they going to speak for? And for live auction, here are the trends we've seen in terms of time. So if you're doing live auction as singular items, one item at a time, it takes about 3 minutes each to do each one. You can lot them together, maybe a group of 5 or 3, and that takes about 5 minutes to do if you're going to lot them together. So think about how many auction items you're going to have, multiply that out. You can see how quickly that 45 minutes reduces. Are you going to have any pre-recorded segments? Make sure you allot the time for that. And what about your campaign plea? That's probably going to be front and center, so you want to make sure you have adequate time. And then, did you want to announce any winners, any next steps for any winners for pickup? And then, of course, you want to thank your presenting sponsors. And then you will have a conclusion and some information about ongoing donations. So work backwards on a clock and include the essentials and cut the non-essentials. Don't waste people's time. They want to come away glowing and raving about your event. No wonder, and not wondering how they get their time back. So a lot of times people will ask us, should we have a ticket? Should we not have a ticket? Should we have a ticket? Should we not have a ticket? So there's the next 2 slides. I want to talk about the benefits and the considerations of both sides of that coin. So here are the pros of each. For no ticket, there's no financial barrier to attend, no financial barrier to bid. There's less workload for the auction team because you don't have to worry about the tickets. And it's easy to invite friends and acquaintances, and those last-minute attendees can just show up. To include a ticket, here's the benefits. People may be more committed to log on once they've actually purchased a ticket or done something to secure a ticket. You can tease them with chances to win if you have a ticket. A goodie box for sale, branding, and instructions can be included with a ticket sale. And you will be able to capture the email and contact information, which is especially important if you want to conduct a private access event, as well as for extending the relationship and the communications after the event concludes. So here's the ticket or no ticket considerations. So heed this advice. For no ticket, no formal commitment to show up. It's hard to plan for the number of attendees. You don't know exactly how many people are going to show up if there's no tickets. Tracking for follow-up, if they attend only yet don't donate or bid, you'll probably lose that information. And what about next year? If you do charge to a ticket or don't charge, what precedence will that be setting? And heed this advice. If you are going to do a ticket, requiring a purchase to attend the event might limit the RSVPs, might. What's your marketing plan for the ticket sales? And then you have to track the tickets. With Auctria, that's super easy. And then what if the ticket sales are less than you're hoping for? Are you okay with that? Or do you want a plan B? And then how are you going to plan for last minute attendees that grab a ticket at the last minute? So think about all these things from start to finish on how that's going to look throughout the event and how you are going to answer at each step. So the next two slides are examples of VIP swag boxes that were used for a few virtual event fundraisers last year. I'm so thrilled that DC from Kind & Company shared these images so we can share them with you. Most were hand delivered for that special socially distanced touch. Each one was curated for the organization and branded. It also included inserts with very clear instructions. You can see the instruction card on the middle one there. Dates and times were included on there, and any links as a reference card. Kind & Company groups found much success pricing the VIP box at pretty much double the contents. They put them up for sale on the event website in advance, usually for about $50 with a hard cost of about $25. And as you can see, they branded it all the way through, telling the story. There's something in the box that's keeping. Sometimes people may want to re-gift it, but the important thing is it's good for pictures and it's good for social media. And you want to encourage your recipients to post pictures, tagging your organization, say that they're going to attend, invite their friends, make it as broad as possible. So use a hashtag that is easily used and recognizable in conjunction with that. People want to find a reason to spend money with your organization. When they know that it goes to a good cause, it makes it even easier. In our previous webinar, we talked about a donation campaign only, how some people just don't want to give just cash. They want something a little tangible. This fits that bill. Okay, let's go on to the content. Great content is key. Look at this in three parts: the pre-show, the show, and of course the fundraising. The pre-show can be just as much fun as the main event. You can sell private access tickets to a VIP experience for smaller socializing and networking. Some groups did this pre-event as a breakout in party rooms, providing a safe and easy way to socialize and stay distanced. Some are doing it as an exclusive for networking. Either purpose, it's a nice way to pre-gather, and people can chat amongst themselves with their friends and their colleagues, which may not be possible to do during a formal presentation. Had you been in a ballroom or a party, they can chat amongst themselves at a table, but you really don't have that opportunity when you have a presentation in front of you and you're all in separate locations. With this, a table captain previously was limited to seats at a table. Now, with a virtual event, they can expand their ambassadorship. You can do a private experience with the keynote speaker. It's great for networking, or if you have a VIP room or a table or a celebrity or a high-profile individual in the community, all that is sellable, which means it's all potential revenue. And then you can promote the pre-party in advance, describing what is planned for the pre-show. Okay, so the show, the main event. Keeping the audience engaged is the key, but I don't have the secret sauce because each group is so different. So I've compiled a list of program features that we've seen over the last quarter, actually all the way back since March. All sorts of entertainment, music, magicians, dancers, comedians do an amazing job with some virtual events. People have used Cameo. And we've seen all sorts of at-home parties, such as wine tasting, painting parties, and food demonstrations. Okay, as the main event unfolds, the purpose of the gathering, of course, is to raise money. I want you to think back to the Jerry Lewis telethons that used to be on. Think about the Live Aid fundraising concert. I know, of course, you cannot compare and scale. However, you can hone in on some key takeaways. Make it meaningful. I should have put that one at the top of the list because that's the most important. Provide testimonials. Have real images from your activities and your events and your charity and your fundraising, and an impact video on how those funds are going to be used. Have diverse content, some live, some recorded, some in a slideshow presentation. Give people different feels, textures, tones, lighting. That way it gains their attention if they're distracted a little bit and brings them back in. And then if you want to have some sort of audience interaction or chat, if you're running it on Facebook Live or YouTube, you can see the chats moving along, just like I see here as during this webinar. And then of course, you've got your live auctions that you can put up for bid and run your online auction concurrently at the same time, encouraging people to participate in that. So you've got your great content. Now you want to give people a multitude of ways to give. Pick and choose, like I said, back from that revenue slide. Do you want to do it through a live auction, your online auction, your giving campaign, trivia, a wheel spin, heads and tails, text to give? The list keeps going on and on. Know your organization and your bylaws and your regulations. I'm going to show you what a couple of these look like. The next two slides and video are an example of the fun tools that are out there that you may want to explore. And we've seen these used in practice. Spin the wheel for registrants is great for those that bought into a raffle or a take a chance, and you're literally loading the people on the wheel and spinning it. You can use the Auctria platform to sell your tickets. However, as you know, Auctria doesn't run the raffle. And raffles are a gray area and a fun sparring conversation, shall we say. Be sure you're in compliance with the local rules and have any sort of required permits on that one. Heads or Tails is a fun in-person event. We have seen this modified for virtual events. You pre-sell the options and then you use that little spreadsheet to drop the losers as you flip the coin and move the correct answers to the next flip. However, some people may choose all heads or all tails the entire way, and there might be multiples of those, so there won't be a winner. You need to create a tiebreaker of some sort for that situation. So I have a little video here to show you exactly what these look like in person. So this is the game of chance with the wheel and the heads and tails. So I'll attach to the resources at the end where I pulled those from because they're really fun and they work really well in a virtual event. Okay, so let's move on to some additional pieces. This is virtual event tools and tech on a slide. Next Wednesday, we are doing a full webinar with a professional event producer to take a deeper dive on this. And as you move from left to right, you'll see we're starting with a simple virtual event with online and maybe a Zoom, and then I'm moving across to the right, adding in some additional elements, but then I'll have to use some additional broadcasting platforms like Streamyard or OBS. And you can see as you move from left to right, you're elevating the event with more elements. However, now you're going to be requiring more help, more tech, more people. And I indicated that by the straws that are in there also. The straws indicate that you'll need more people to share the work as you add on more ingredients. Although the straws are whimsical, they represent real people and real work as the work increases. The next two slides are example broadcasting platforms that you may want to explore for producing and broadcasting your virtual event. They're not part of Auctria. However, we find these to have been the most popular for nonprofit organizations and virtual events. So an example of the production screen here for Streamyard. So this is behind the scenes, how you're actually producing the event using Streamyard. And this is one of the easiest and most simple compositing platforms. So this would be used when you have multiple cameras and also want to do a desktop screen share. Branding the live session could be done with banners and overlays so that it comes on underneath, kind of like a news chyron. What's really nice with StreamYard is that you can pull up the comments from the chat and display those on the live feed in real time. We've run a couple Facebook Live roundtables using StreamYard, so you can watch that playback and see what I mean when I'm talking about overlays and tickers. Also, in the resources that's coming out, there'll be an article that has a link on it to a live auction playback that used StreamYard also. Okay, if you want to get a little more fancy, here's an example of the production screens for OBS. OBS is an acronym for Open Broadcaster Software. It's both popular and free also. This is a little more complex than StreamYard. However, with that comes more customization and more flexibility. This would be used when you have multiple cameras and also want to share multiple desktop screens. The same advice applies here. You'll want to brand everything, same thing with banners and overlays. The setup in OBS will probably take a little bit more in your learning curve. A little while back, we ran a mock auction using OBS, and Rob was taking us through, and he showed us how he was running OBS from the production side, as well as what the auction looked like as live. And that will also be attached for resources on the playback if you want to watch that. Okay, so as you build the virtual event, there's a few documents that you need to be complete and accurate. The first is tech notes. You can see the tech notes printed out on the desktop there on paper and also up on the screen ahead. Technology notes is an all-encompassing record for your document log, your logins, video locations, browser preferences, hardware, software, audio, and video setting for optimal quality and clarity. That way you don't have to mess around with it. You go directly to what you wanted set those settings at. You also want to establish a back channel for communication and monitoring amongst the team. A script run of show document is used to record a minute-by-minute rundown of the entire show. And the columns that you want to include on there are name and role of the person who's speaking, timestamps of when they're supposed to begin and when they're supposed to end, where the feed is from. Is it from a screen or a camera shot? Who is speaking? What are they saying? And how long are they going to say it for? You want to have all this pre-planned out. Pre-record segments that are too complicated or are too complicated to do live, kind of like of an on-location type thing. Or if you want to record it at a different time of day so that it's daylight versus night or vice versa. And of course, you want to have a chat monitor to monitor and respond to the chat activity. You will need a maestro. You'll need a production director to make sure that everything is right, the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed. And if this is feeling overwhelming, don't fret. Like I said, our very next webinar, next Wednesday, same time, is with the lovely lady in this picture here, Auctria. She's a professional event producer and is using her her skills to help nonprofit organizations run virtual events. And she's going to teach you all about that next week. So join us. In the meantime, the initial roadmap of your planning, make sure you build in rehearsal time. This is for everyone that will be involved in the live event. And I mean everyone. Everybody that's going to be on air, everybody that's going to be off air, all the tech people, and any support people. Your full dress rehearsal will be all parties using their actual devices that will be used the day of and in the exact location. That way you can make sure that you have all your connections nice and clear. Play any full videos during your full dress rehearsal. That way you know exactly where the drive locations are, if you have to worry about any sort of buffering, and make sure everything's timed out. And then view the sample audience from all sorts of places. Look at it from a smart TV, look at it from a desktop, look at it from a laptop, look at it from a smaller device, because it will render differently and you want to make sure that you have the outcome that you're looking for. And then lighting is super important. Try, if possible, to do your rehearsals same time of day to simulate what the lighting will be during your actual event. Daytime light, is a lot different than nighttime light. So make sure you mess around with that. Bring in lamps if you need to, remove lamps, mess around with the overhead lights to get it exactly how you want it to look. Most important, stay on script because every minute counts. So video is vital to attracting attention. And I know I sound like a broken record if you hung out with me for any of my webinars, but video and imaging is really vital. And Auctria really makes this easy to do. You can add video 3 different ways with the Auctria platform. You can do standalone video on the website, and this is perfect for a short impact video before the event. It's also great for after the virtual event closes. You can post the replay with a donation campaign at the bottom. Keep it all on one page. Second way is you can use it in the description of an auction item, in addition to or in lieu of an item. This is great for 3G objects that you want to present, any sort of keepsakes, or something like a vacation or a hotel experience where a video can show more of a full story. And then, of course, for virtual events, you can do pop-up video. This is great to use on a live auction page. The user can click the button, and then the window is free-floating, and it can be moved around and adjusted for size. I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like. So Auctria can help you with the virtual bidding activity if that's something that you want to do. Of course, our platform was built for bidding, and this is streamlined with the virtual auction from registration through the checkout with all the bidding and paddle raise in between. Nothing is different for the virtual auction. This is what the bidders will see as they take your live auction virtual as they view your live auction on the platform. They'll be viewing from a page on your dedicated website, and you are actually going to control what the bidder sees. You will pull up and bring down auction items. They never need to navigate away and make a bid for a donation. It's all a quick tap to bid, which means a quick tap for fundraising. Let me show you a couple screenshots and then I have a video for you. To run a live auction as part of the virtual event, you'll use the bid monitor. And the bid monitor page is where you'll find that, where there is also a live auction controller. This is used to make active the live auction items. The active items will then appear on the bidder's device, and then they can take action on it. So this is what the live auction controller looks like in the top left. The admin will open and close the items, and this is what the video this is what it would look like in real life. So give me a second here for me to flip over. Give me 1 second here. Here's the live auction controller. So I just have a sample event here. It's got a whole lot of pieces on it, but I want to point out, so during the event, you would direct people to the live auction page, and then they don't need to go anywhere else. This is where they will remain the entire time. So typically they would be watching the show, your virtual event, on a desktop or a laptop or a smart TV, you can put the video on the Auctria system if it's YouTube or Vimeo, if it's some sort of URL. And somebody can watch it live. So here's an example of one of our friends, an auctioneer. This is pre-recorded, but this could be live. So this is the first piece that we are going to auction off, and it's a red Ferrari fantasy experience. And it looks like I am the highest bidder on here right now, and I bid $2,500. And I know one of my friends is here, and she's probably going to outbid me. And I'll show you what that looks like as a participant. Sure enough, Tracy just outbid me for $2,500. Now I can either place a custom bid or I can bid against her. Well, I'm not going to get outbid by her, sure enough. So now I have the current bidder at $3,500. Let's see if she comes back with one more bid. I have a feeling that she will. Sure enough, there she is, Tracy, $5,500. So I am going to give some people a 5-second warning that I'm going to close this auction item, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, close the auction item. And then you can see that it was won for $4,500 by Tracy, and she's in our support team. So in this example, I've put up 3 items at once. I put up the $300 donation, the $500 donation, and the $1,000 donation. So if somebody wants to toggle, this is what the bidder will see on the outside. If they want to toggle over to the $500 and make a donation, they can do so. If somebody wants to make a lower donation, they can toggle over to $300 and do so. And you can do the same thing with auction items. If you have multiple auction items that you want to be running at the same time, you can do the same thing. Look, here came another donation from Tracy. Awesome. Thanks, Tracy. So I want to show you what that looks like behind the scenes. I have this little pencil here because I'm logged in as administrator. So I want to go to my event dashboard and I want to go to my bid monitor page. So I'll show you what that looks like. That's on online bidding, and then I can come to monitor auction. And this is how I'm pulling the strings behind as a little puppet here. So you can see I had the 300, the 500, and the 1,000 up, and those are in my active group. If I want to make something else in my active group, I'll go ahead and look at my online items. So I'll go ahead and look at my online items, and I have 1 week at Lakeside Camp. So I'm going to go ahead and quick select that. Now I can see what the bidders are seeing. They're seeing the Lakeside Camp, and I can monitor this activity. I bet Tracy will go ahead and bid on this one also, and you'll see how that looks. So the bid is currently $560. Yep, I was outbid by Tracy. She came in at a higher amount at $640. The bidders are seeing this down here. They're seeing the current bid now is $640. But you as the admin can actually see what's going on also. You can monitor the bid activity, and you can see that that just came in for the $560. So there's a lot of different ways that you, the admin, your person that's running your auction, your AV, can see the activity that's happening. So that's what the live auction controller looks like. Like I said, we have an entire mock auction that we did, and you can see how that looks if you want to watch that back also. So with the Auctria platform, the Emerald and the Diamond plans include texting, and texting is a great speed pass to registration or for making donations. If you're not doing a full virtual event with auction items and you just want to do a donation only campaign, it's a fast way for people to quickly make a donation directly from their phone, directly from texting. And I have a quick little video here. It's less than a minute to show you how fast that happens. So I hope that gives you lots of different ways that you can choose some of the features within the Auctria system and think about ways that you want to run your virtual event. So just as a wrap up, G Events shared this auction experience from us. He's an auctioneer in the Pacific Northwest, and he was helping Camp Lutherwood. This is a prime example of what happens when a virtual event has a wider experience. The group was unsure how the bidding would proceed regarding their top tier auction item. It was a private winemaker's dinner. They had beautiful images of it. The item sold for a final bid of $17,000. And when offered a second dinner, it sold a second time for the same amount. So it sold twice. I will include a link to this article, and it has the entire playback of their virtual event so you can watch it in action. And then, like I said, this is part of our series. Next week, we're going to have Anka from TreeFan talking about how to produce a virtual event fundraiser. On the 24th, we're going to talk about the online event. And then on the 10th, we're going to talk about engagement and social media. And then if you've been hanging around with us for any sort of time, you'll know that I always encourage you to reach out to us on social media. We post regularly to Facebook and Twitter. We post all of our playbacks on our website as well as on our YouTube page. And then the Auction Team Talk page is a lovely place also. All sorts of groups are on there asking questions, helping each other out. It's really an all-for-one kind of conversation on there. You can always email us, hello@auctria.com. And then if you haven't been with Auctria since last summer or you're new, we've added on the Auctria Assist and the Auctria Launch. And the Auctria Launch, you can add on to your Emerald or your Diamond plan, and you can leave the setup to the Auctria team. And then the Assist is a little one-on-one meeting that you can have also if you want to add on to those and purchase those in addition to your license.